Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. If you'd allow me just a moment of indulgence at the beginning of our program. We are a campus family, and I just wanted to take a special moment to welcome Gretchen this afternoon. If you didn't see Gretchen, Gretchen's back, and we are so delighted. If you've had a chance to spend any time with Gretchen these last several weeks, you realize what an inspiration she is to all of us. And to see the smile on her face this morning just sends this special morning to a new height. So thank you for being here and sharing in this day with us. Well, again, welcome, everyone, and we're delighted that all of you are able to be here. My name is Paul Adams. I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs at the university. I think it's probably safe to say that in any community, there are those whose personality or contributions rise above most of its other members. Eddie Elgonitis was one of those members of our community who was known and cared for by all. Eddie was a big part of our Wilkes family. And as our program cover reminds us, his spirit demonstrated to all of us of what it is to be colonel. Now, we all know that Eddie could be loud. We would have all, whether it would be at a football game or a basketball game, we would have all witnessed his enthusiasm at the March Center last night as our basketball teams did battle with our crosstown rival Kings. He could be funny and easily bring a smile to our faces. He could be serious when he felt something was amiss. And we know Eddie could always be hungry, always ready to sample from the buffet tables here in the ballroom or in the Miller conference room across the hallway. But most of all, we know that Eddie was endearing to all of us. For 33 years, Eddie roamed this campus, leaving an impression just about everywhere he traveled. There were few corners of this campus that Eddie hadn't seen in his long years of service on the facilities delivery truck, and few campus faces that he didn't encounter in his post at the mailroom right outside of this ballroom. Eddie will be remembered by all of us as a campus icon, as someone whose spirit has influenced and will continue to influence our campus culture. But today, we come together to remember and honor his memory. Eddie's thrilled that you're all here. This is a special morning, and making it all the more special for us is to have so many members of the Elgonitis family here with us today, especially you, Mrs. Elgonitis. But Paula, Denise, Debbie, and Eddie Jr., and Matt, thank you for making the effort to be a part of our day here today. It just makes it all the more special. With the help of Caitlin Zay, Melissa Howells, Rebecca Van Jura, Mildred Urban, and Jim Yaninis, we've planned a memorial service that we hope captures Eddie's spirit and his legacy at Wilkes. He deserves that. We've invited some of those who've been connected to Eddie in a special way to participate in this service, and we thank them for sharing with us this morning. We've created two ways for you to share your remembrances of Eddie. First, after President Leahy's remarks, we'll invite anyone to come to the podium to share for a few minutes their special thoughts about Eddie. But also, we have available a book of remembrance to which you can add your personal reflection. It's located in the back of the ballroom. In the next several days, we'll continue to make that book available through the Office of Campus Interfaith across the atrium here on the second floor, so that you and others can add their thoughts if you need a little bit more time to reflect on what you'd like to share. And once it's finished, we'll be pleased to present that book of remembrance to Mrs. Elgonitis. But it's time for us to begin our tribute to our friend. I won't introduce each of our participants as their names are listed in the program. They'll come to the podium in succession according to the order of our service. I now invite Ms. Zay to offer our invocation. Caitlin?
Let us be in this moment together to share the beauty that Eddie's life represented. Let us now remember his spirit and be grateful he made us a part of his life. Divine God of mercy and compassion, be with us today and share with us your grace and unconditional love. Be with us during our time of loss and guide us in our time of need. We seek your comfort through the love we share for one another and through the love that we share for Eddie. Be with us as our tears fall, but remind us of the rainbow after the storm. Help us to remember that Eddie always had a smile ready for us and a laugh that was infectious. Let us remember his spirit and sportsmanship that he held for our athletes. Let us remember the love that Eddie had for each one of us. Help us to remember that even in death, those connections that we have made in the name of love transcend physical form and persist eternally. We ask that our grief be lessened through the sharing of words and memories and by the visitation of your loving grace. Amen.
Good morning. A reading from the Gospel according to Mark. And people were bringing children to him that he might touch them, but the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he became indignant and said to them, "Let the children come to me. Do not prevent them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Amen, I say to you, whoever does not accept the kingdom of God like a child will not enter it." Then he embraced them and blessed them, placing his hands on them.
Hello. Thank you for all coming in honor of our fallen colonel. My name is Jimmy Ness, and it's been my pleasure to have worked with Eddie for the past 15 years. First with facilities, and then after he retired and couldn't stay away, in the mailroom. I can tell you about how good it was to have Eddie as a co-worker, how much of a family man Eddie was, or how much Eddie loved Wilkes. I think you already all know that. What you may not know is how much of a relationship he had with our students. He not only knew most of them by name, but also knew their majors, what professor they had in class, how they did on exams, and what their plans were for over break. Monday, the start of classes, was a sad day for me, and it was tough to start off a new semester. But I couldn't help but smile as I constantly heard groups of students gathering out front of the mailroom, telling their stories of Eddie and having a laugh. Eddie loved to talk to them, joke with them, and playfully tease them. But most of all, he made them laugh. When Eddie first came to work in the mailroom, he and two of our work studies were joking about not being able to go a full day without talking. Three of them set out to create the Silent Eddie rules and spent close to an hour refining them. We had 7 of them. In short, Eddie could not speak to anyone except for official mailroom business. Failure to do so would result in Eddie bringing bagels for the entire mailroom. Tuesday was set to be Silent Eddie Day. When the day came and our 2 work studies walked in, Eddie took one look at them, fought valiantly not to speak, but only managed a little over 2 minutes before erupting into laughter. It took longer to come up with the Silent Eddie rules than it was for him to abide by them, and the next day he brought in bagels. Over the years, Eddie became the face of the mailroom and would talk to everyone. Many times when Eddie took a day off, students would come to the window and ask for him. When I told them that he was off and asked if I could help them, they often answered with no. I just wanted to talk to him and tell him what I did on my test. Or I got the internship I wanted. They just came to talk to him. We all have our stories to tell about Eddie. And as long as we continue to tell those stories, his spirit will live on forever at Wilkes. You were my coworker, honorary uncle to my son. You were my friend. I will miss you. Godspeed, Eddie.
Thank you, and Paula, everyone from the Elgonitis family, our condolences once again. When I came to Wilkes 25 years ago, Eddie was one of the first people to stop by my office, and he welcomed me to campus. We chatted for a short time about athletics, his passion about coaching, and umpiring Little League. As he was leaving my office, he turned to me, pointed, and said, "Coach, whatever you need, just give me a call, and I'll be there to help you." It was not an empty promise. Eddie was there for me and for many of you sitting in this room today. If you spent time with Eddie, you understood how much he loved his family. He was proud to spend time with his grandsons at games and introduce them to the Wilkes world he loved so much. Eddie's love of sports drew him to the coaching staff and student athletes. He loved to talk the game. He was a spirited and passionate fan. Every football Saturday, Eddie could be found sitting at the top of the hill at the Ralston Athletic Complex. He spoke encouraging words to our team and our coaches as they made their way to the field. Eddie got a little closer to the action in the March Center. He loved sitting close to the team. He loved being near the team bench and sitting in the student section. Many basketball officials would attest to Eddie's relentless challenge to fouls called against his colonels. At a recent men's basketball game, Tom Dunsmuir told me, an official, out of respect for Eddie, acknowledged the vacant bleacher where Eddie sat. No words were exchanged, just a nod in the direction of the vacant seat. Eddie found common ground with everyone he met. He made a case for a Wilkes education and seized the moment when he met recruits and their families. I stopped by the mailroom to say hello to Eddie after we hired Trey Brown and Izzy Metz. As he had done with me 25 years ago, he pointed at me and said, "You hired two good guys. They are going to be good for our kids. Just give them a chance." To Eddie's family, thank you for sharing him with us for 33 years. In closing, I would love to think that Eddie was looking down on the colonels last night, beaming with pride and celebrating our win over Kings.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. I want to thank all of you for turning out here this morning for this celebration. I often say that I believe that the caring spirit of Wilkes is on display at its best in situations like this, and today's another good example. I want to thank Caitlin and Alicia, Jim and Addie and Dominic, Anastasia and the chamber singers, all for the important role that they are playing in this beautiful service. Thank you. And I want to thank my colleague, Paul Adams, Mr. Wilkes himself, the son of a minister, for helping to schedule and to plan this beautiful service for the man that I know he loved for so many years. I want to thank all of you members of the Elgonitis family for being here, in particular you, Mrs. Elgonitis. Eddie and Paula would have been married 54 years this year, and I want all of you to know that you will always be welcome on this campus. And I want to thank the students who have taken time to assemble today. I once asked Eddie about a year ago, at 75, I said, Eddie, why on earth do you come in to work so regularly at 75? And his answer was, because I loved the interaction with the students and would miss that too much. Eddie worked here, as you've heard, for 33 years. As I often say about individuals who have spent so much time here at Wilkes, they dedicated the one life they had to live in support of Wilkes University, and that was true of Eddie. Many of you here knew him a lot longer than I, and I'm sure that you have remembrances and anecdotes and stories. I hope when I'm finished, you'll feel comfortable sharing some of those. I only knew him for 2.5 years, the 2.5 years that I've been here at Wilkes, but it seems like I knew him so much longer than that. I think maybe we accelerated our friendship. It started with a firm handshake, quickly went to a sort of mutual pat on the back, and over the last 6 months or so, we just hugged whenever we saw each other. So I'm honored to say a few words this morning. When I think of Eddie, I think of the ancient Egyptian belief. It's centuries old, but maybe some of you know it from a popular movie of recent years. In that movie, individual explained that when someone dies, their soul goes up to the gates of heaven, at which time the individual is asked 2 questions before they can proceed into heaven. And the first question is, did you find joy in your life? And the second question is, did your life bring joy to others? I can't help but think of Eddie and think of that ancient Egyptian belief. Every time I saw him, he was smiling. As has been pointed out, he was quick with a joke. He loved to tease people, even the president, I think especially the president. He had a twinkle in his eyes for the 2.5 years that I knew him that persisted even in the months where his health declined. He was a fixture in the mailroom, as we've talked about. And as most of you know, the mailroom is right next to the Miller Conference Room. And the Miller Conference Room is the site of many meetings here on campus, including board meetings, budget meetings, strategic planning meetings, quite candidly, meetings that create a sense of anxiety for this university president. Every time I went to a meeting there, I swung by the mailroom in the hopes that Eddie was there so that we might have that quick exchange and that I might allow his spirit to lift my spirit. This morning I dropped my kids at school, and incidentally, like so many fathers, I get out of the car, run around to the back, and I try to give my kids a hug. When I drop them off at school, it's getting increasingly difficult because my oldest is a 16-year-old girl. You can imagine how embarrassed she is when her father goes to hug her in the morning. I did this morning, and I held that hug a little bit longer than normal, thinking of today. I dropped her off, and I drove to the Ralston Athletic Complex. And I drove into the parking lot, and I sat there, parked in the car, and I looked out over the field at the hill that Eddie spent so many years. As has been pointed out, irrespective of the weather, he was there. And in recent years, often with his grandson, Tommy. It was not lost on me in November when we were playing Kings that I ran up to the top of the stairs and looked to my right and did not see Eddie there. And I think that's when it hit me that this health challenge was more serious than I once thought. I, too, was at the game last night, and it was a great environment. Lots of excitement. It was loud and raucous. But I, too, felt a bit of quiet, eerie quiet to it because Eddie was not there to argue calls. And there were a few calls, I think, that deserved to be argued, quite candidly. At halftime, it was about even. I forget, one of us was up by a point, and I walked a friend of mine who had no relationship to Wilkes. We walked to the concession stand, and we got a drink, and we stood in front of the poster that was there that recognized Eddie's 33 years of service. I explained to this friend who Eddie was, what he meant to this place, that he spent 33 years of his life here, that he never missed a game, and that we would be having a memorial service for him today. This friend of mine turned to me as matter-of-factly as possible and said, well, we know Wilkes is going to win this game tonight. And we did. So with all due respect to Coach Metz, I'm going to credit Eddie with that win last night. There are so many voids now at Wilkes with Eddie's departure. Who will argue those calls with the officials? Who will sit at the top of the stairs at the football games? Who will eat all those leftovers at those countless meetings in the Miller Conference Room? Who will remind us daily of the privilege to interact with our students? He found joy in everything he did, I believe. The French call it joie de vivre, a buoyant, abundant enjoyment of life, and that was Eddie. But finding joy in one's life was only half of the two-part question. The other was, did your life bring joy to others? All I can tell you is that every time I interacted with Eddie, I smiled. And he connected with everyone, the president, a student, a professor, an alumnus, a coach, a trustee. Since his passing, I've received email messages into my office remembering our friend. One professor said that Ed always had a smile and a kind word for everyone. One coach said he was as loyal as they come. And one alumnus from some 30 years ago wrote a message, and I'd like to share it with you. In particular, I want to share this with the Elgonitis family. He said, President Leahy, I happened to see your email from my son Ethan's email account. Yes, I am a helicopter parent, he writes, and saw the sad news about Eddie. Back in the 1970s and 80s, Eddie was a fixture around Stark and at the athletic facilities and the football field. He always had a sincere hello, a smile, and displayed good humor. He and others in the maintenance and food service positions at Wilkes left lasting impressions on students and on alumni who have long since left Wilkes. Not long ago in the fall, I ran into Eddie at Schmidt Stadium, and he was still smiling and in good humor, even though he mentioned being ill. He remembered me some 30 years later, and we had a very nice visit on a sunny day. People like Eddie are the backbone of what makes Wilkes unique. And his legacy will be one that lives in the hearts and minds of the thousands of members of the Wilkes family whose minds and hearts he touched. He may not have been a coach or a professor, but he taught me and many others like me life lessons that stay with me today. He serves as a symbol in my mind of what is good and decent and the value of a kind hello or smile. Thanks to you and the administration for remembering Eddie in this way, and please extend my family's best wishes to the Elgonitis family. Signed, Wayne Lonstein, class of 1982. I think that too was Eddie. And I think these are important lessons for all of us, especially you students. Find joy in your life and bring it to others the way that Eddie did. If those ancient Egyptians are right, I believe that Eddie passed that test and is today in heaven. We will miss him dearly here at Wilkes, but we will never forget him. I'm pleased to announce this morning that that mailroom that is the center of such activity here at Wilkes, the place where he spent so many of his recent years, will be renamed the Edward R. Elgonitis Senior Room at Wilkes University. Our hope is to host a small dedication on this April 17th, which would have been the 77th birthday of our friend, Eddie. May God bless you, Eddie. And on behalf of countless members of the Wilkes community, thank you for bringing so much joy to this campus.
I think we all recognize that Eddie's touched us all, and his spirit brings us all here today. And we'd like to give you the opportunity, if you feel you'd like to come to the podium and share your remembrance of Eddie. So we'll take the next few moments, and if you'd like to come forward, please do. And we welcome you, and we welcome your remembrances.
Give me a Wilkes football hat. Like this. Give me a Wilkes football shirt. Or whenever we would lose a game and he would see me and he'd give me one of these. Don't talk to me until you figure it out, folks. So President Leahy and Coach Malatesta talked about the going down onto the field from the hill and the stairs, which is my favorite part of coaching here because it's very unique. But it will never be the same coming out with our kids without Eddie sitting there to the left giving you one of those. It'll never be the same. I'm really going to miss it.
Everyone's talked about how he could bring a smile to anybody's face. So I'd just like to say the first time I met Eddie, I was up for 2 or 3 days studying for finals, and never met him in my life. He goes, "Hey kid, you really look like shit." and from that day on, he got me out of bed earlier than my 8 a.m. because I'd go sit on the couches every single day to talk to him. And if I slept in and missed talking to him, it would throw my whole day off and it would just feel wrong. So, rest easy.
I was Eddie's grandson. He was the best man in the world. He loved this college more than anything. I don't know if anybody can hear me. He loved this college more than anything in the world. One quick story. He just got surgery. Something wrong with his stomach. My pop fought everything with courage. And he said to the doctor, he said, "I'm only going to be in here for 1.5 days. The doctor said, "Why? Your blood pressure's high." He said, "No, there's a game on. I got to be home Saturday at noon. Wilkes had a basketball game at 1. He wanted to make the game, he told the doctor. Another quick story. He said one time we used to go to Relay for Life here. Everybody probably knows. And he said to me, "This is one of the greatest moments of my life was when Mr. Leahy used to push him in the wheelchair. My grandfather would look forward to it. I lived with him. He'd look forward to it for months and say, 'It's coming up, it's coming up. Pop, it's 2 months away.' 'No, it's coming up. You watch and see.' He loved this college just like you guys loved him. And we're all going to miss him the same, I guess."
My name is Denise Elgonitis Carey. I am an alumni, class of 1996. And I will tell you that my father, the proudest thing that I could have done in my life for my father was to tell him that I was going to come to Wilkes University. Now I will say that he thought he was pretty cool because I was coming. So he used to go to the bookstore, which was not Barnes & Noble's, but our bookstore here. And he said, I'll chisel your books down. Don't worry, I'll get you a good price. And he did. He actually made my experience here just as good as he's made everyone else's. He introduced me to everybody. You probably don't remember Mr. Adams, but you were the first one I met. He was so proud that I was coming to the place that he loved more than anything. And I graduated in 1996 with honors, and Dean Lampy had him come up to the stage and present me with my diploma. And I will tell you, that was a day that I will never forget. And I know that I was able to make him so proud, and we never forgot that. And I have this really great picture of him giving me that diploma, which is dear to my heart. For you guys to do this today, you can't imagine what it means to our family. Because we did there were many Christmases when he worked in maintenance, if it snowed, and it used to snow a lot, he would be called out Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving or holidays where he'd have to go, and he'd be out all day shoveling, so, we really shared him with you, I know, and you shared him with us. The one thing that you don't know is that my daughter defied him the most because she went to King's. And she spent 4 years listening to him razz her every day. And who would know that his future granddaughter, my future daughter-in-law, would also go to King's. And again, she got razzed. But you know what? When they graduated, and they both did, very successfully, he was there as the Wilkes guy who cheered on the King's kid. Just for that one time. It didn't happen much. But I will tell you that we are humbled and we are grateful that you did this, and to hear that the mailroom's going to be named after him. I can't imagine what he thinks of that, because my father was simply wonderful. He didn't have a college degree. They used to call Mayor of Dogpatch a GAR. Now, I don't even know who Mayor of Dogpatch was, but I'm assuming that it was somebody who was lively and like a politician, because he was kind of like that. And if you didn't know him, he made sure that you knew him. And I'm not the shy one. I think I got that from him. My mother is shy. I'm up here talking, you could tell. But again, thank you so very much. And students, thank you. Because it was great being here when he was here, and I know it too. Thank you to all the administration, and we really so much do appreciate this. And Jimmy, he loved you a lot. Thank you.
I'm a little short back here, sorry. Good morning, my name is Matt. I'm Ed's youngest son. So with everything that he had here at Wilkes, my bedroom and house sometimes looked like a dormitory for Wilkes University, because there were so many clothes all over the place of Wilkes. As the coach was saying, give me a new shirt, give me a new hat. We all had all kinds of different Wilkes stuff. That was for sure. To stand up here for my dad today is great. If anything I could take from Eddie's perspective of everything in life is, as I've worked so many years now and, been out of school for quite a while, he always told me, you find a job that's going to make you happy. Doesn't matter what you make. It doesn't matter what you do. Just be happy with what you have to have a job, and it's going to reward you in the end. And the hardest part right now is you guys are rewarding him in the end, and it's much appreciated. And I know for my mom sit there, she wanted me to come up today, as we talk all the time, and she's truly blessed that you guys did everything that you guys did for him over these last 30-some years, and it's quite amazing, to have my sister be able to graduate from here, to be a big part of the culture of everything as well, and to have just, one of my newest nephews be part of the culture of Wilkes as well. There's so many different ways and stories that we could go with for days about Eddie Elgonitis, and we much appreciate every single one of you guys, and thank you to Pat Leahy, and thank you, Paul. We much appreciate everything you guys did. Thank you.
Well, I, too, am a victim of Eddie's addiction to T-shirts. So, as a coach, I've given more T-shirts to Eddie than I've given out total in my 13 years here as the women's soccer coach. The one thing I really appreciated about Eddie is being able to shake his hand every time I saw him. And he had such a gentle handshake. It was very nice. Probably one of the funniest memories, and I guess this is a little bit inappropriate, but when a couple years ago at a Kings basketball game when Eddie was making fun of the cheerleaders. But I do think that Eddie made fun of everyone because he loved everyone, and we're going to miss him.
I'm Corey. It was about a year ago when I was going through foster care, and I ended up being taken in the home of Edward Elgonitis. And I remember the first time we went to go meet his dad. We went to Wendy's, and we got out the car, walked in, and right away he started joking. And when we made the order, he told the waitress, he was like, "Make it snappy." And I remember I looked at him, I was like, I don't know if he's being mean or if he's just being polite. And as I sat there and I got to know him a little bit more, I realized he jokes with people because he's trying to show he cares. Like, he will joke with you, he will tease you, and he will do all those things, but he'll do it because he cares about you. He may not even know you, and he cares about you. And I remember when I was discussing going to colleges, I was going to go to Penn State, and that was until I went into the Elgonitis family. I wanted to stay closer to home, so to speak, because growing up in foster care, I didn't really have a family. So I felt this was more of a family home. So I started talking to him, and he was like, his son Eddie, he was like, "You should go to Wilkes. Pop would love you for that." I said, "You know, I think you're right." Although I had many reasons to go to Wilkes, he was a big help in doing that. When I told him I wanted to go to Wilkes, he helped me find connections, as he would call it, to get me in. And he did, and he ended up talking to Michael McCree. And he helped me get through the process of getting things done. And when I told him that I was doing it, he made sure every time I got on the phone with him that I was doing what I needed to do to get into the school. And I can not thank him enough for the opportunity and the help he gave. He gave me endless help, no matter what it was. He was there to help. So rest in peace.
Anastasia?
Hello, everyone. I chose this poem because it reminded me of the happiness and joy Eddie brought me personally and everybody on campus. It's called Keep On Smiling. If at times you feel you want to cry and life seems such a trial, above the clouds there's a bright blue sky, so make your tears a smile. As you travel on life's way with its many ups and downs, remember it's quite true to say, one smile is worth a dozen frowns. Among the world's expensive things, a smile is very cheap. And when you give a smile away, you get one back to keep. Happiness comes at times to all, but sadness comes unbidden. And sometimes a few tears must fall among the laughter hidden. So when friends have sadness on their face and troubles round them piled, the world would seem a better place, and all because you smiled.
Eternal God, let your presence rest upon us as we give thanks for Eddie's life. We thank you for the days of life that you gave to him. May his memory live long among us and be a source of strength for us. The death of someone we love and care about is a death of part of us. No one else will ever call out from within us quite the same responses, the same feelings or actions or ideas. Their death is an ending of one part of our story. Lord, as we look back over Eddie's life, we ask what we have received, what we can appropriate, and continue on in our own lives. Our love for him reminds us that our sharing in one another's lives brings both support and pain. Our being parted from him reminds us of our own mortality and that your love is enduring. We thank you that our love for Eddie draws us together and gives us new appreciation of one another and the beauty and fragility of relationships, which mirror your grace and goodness to us. Lord, time's tide may wash his footprints from the shore, but not from our love for him, nor the influence of his life upon our own, nor the ways in which they will ever be assigned for those things which really matter, for they are eternal. Hear this prayer for your love's sake. And as we go forth from this space, let us remember that there is a sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming of overwhelming grief and unspeakable love. Amen.
Well, our program comes to a close, and I do want to make a special thank you to Caitlin, to Addie, to Jim, to Dominic, to Alicia, to Anastasia, to Pat, to the chamber singers so beautifully contributing to our ceremony, and especially all of you who came forward and shared your thoughts about Eddie, especially the family. That was very special for all of us. I don't know if you could all hear it, but while Corey was up here speaking, in the background, the carillon played the alma mater. How appropriate. If you as a campus community would give me the permission to change the lyric of our alma mater for this day, we close with, "May our deeds of love and service ever swell thy fame. Eddie, we stand to greet thee. Glory to thy name." Thanks for being here. Hope you'll share in the book of remembrance, refreshments, and just enjoy each other's company as Eddie would. Thank you.